Serving their community is who they are because they love where they live. REMAX 3D Real Estate is proud to bring you Heart of Greenville, a video series dedicated to celebrating all the wonderfully great things about Greenville, Texas. On every episode, Dennisha Thacker will share Greenville's story through the stories of people who call Greenville home. This is Heart of Greenville.
Thank you so much for watching Heart of Greenville. I asked Janeen Cunningham to come on our show for so many reasons. I want to share something with you though. At the end of our episode, she shared with me that she had watched several of the other episodes, and she knew that I used to always ask, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received? And she wanted to share that answer with me. And her answer was to live joyful. And I think that's the perfect way to kick off this conversation with Janeen Cunningham. Hey y'all, I'm Dennisha Thacker, your host of Heart of Greenville, and today we are sitting down at 111 Cherokee Drive, currently listed by Garland Brummett with REMAX 3D Real Estate. And our guest today that I have the honor and privilege to have a conversation with is Miss Janeen Cunningham. How are you today, Janeen?
I'm just fine, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on our show.
You're welcome.
I have wanted you on my show for a long time, and to be honest, I'm a little nervous because
you're not any more nervous than I am.
Well, I have looked up to you since I was a teenager. So from the time I started coming in and shopping at the Calico Cat, I have always looked up to you and respected you as a female in business. And just sitting here before we got started, just learning all the things you've been involved with, I had no idea the leader that you are. But I want our audience to really get to know you. And so I would like for you to share your story with us. Tell us, where did you grow up? And tell us, you and I talked earlier about some of your family, but let's just start with where you grew up and how you became Janeen Cunningham.
Well, I have two hometowns. I was born in Commerce, lived part of the time in Commerce, part of the time in Greenville. I lived at a time back in the 50s and 60s that was Mayberry, RFD, or was Happy Days. I feel so lucky to have grown up in that time. And because my single mom often had more than one job, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents and my aunt. And so I had numerous adults that were part of my life in those early days. And that they just let me do so many things that kids don't get a chance to do. I mentioned to you, I was in my grandfather's carpentry shop a lot, and I had my own tack hammer, my own putty knife. And in my grandmother's kitchen, I had my own roasting pan and my own sack of cornmeal, by the way, which became sand on rainy days. But they just instilled in me such a confidence. Everything was easy back then, and nobody ever told me I couldn't do something with myself. I just assumed that you just did what you wanted to do because everything was possible. And so I've taken that attitude, I guess, forward in my life. I went to school in Greenville almost all the time. I was 1 year in Commerce. Graduated from Greenville High School, as did my children and my husband.
Aww.
So we're true Hunt Countyans. I've lived in Greenville, of course, almost all of my years, but I still call Commerce home as well.
It is, and it's just right down the road.
Yeah.
And it's such a great community to
Exactly.
have close by. So this probably does still feel like home, even though
It does.
it wasn't where you were born.
It does.
Well, tell me, what's one of your favorite stories from your childhood?
Well, my aunt did not marry until very late in life and didn't have children. And so she was sort of like my little adventure aunt. So we did a number of adventures. I mean, everything from going to an alligator farm in Arkansas to going to Galveston and visiting the Pleasure Pier. And she would egg me on, Janeen, go and talk to that cute boy over there. Janeen, jump in there and in the water and see if you can catch that jellyfish or whatever, you know. So she was somebody who taught me to try new things, and we just had so much fun. So I rode everywhere with her sitting on coffee cans because we didn't used to have car seats, and that way I could see out of the car window. And I mean, there's just so many things that were so different then. I mean, we didn't have a television, never did growing up, and it was certainly before computers. So.
Right. So I guess you had the radio and.
I don't even remember having a radio. We were outdoors almost all the time, rain or shine. And back then it was, of course, Commerce sandy soil, so it was a different kind of place. But when we were living in Greenville, there were the big cracks in the yard, and we played shadow tag at night and baseball in the vacant lot next door, and made houses under the bushes and ate clover and poured things down the cracks in the yard. So, I mean, it really was an idyllic time to grow up in a small town. And,
right.
I mean, we're not really rural America, or certainly I didn't live in rural America, but we certainly were not the city either. So
right.
I feel very fortunate. In fact, when I was growing up, our youth group at church was part of we had a district-wide youth group. And it was McKinney and Princeton and Royce City and Allen and Plano, and Greenville was the biggest town of all of those.
Really?
Yes.
That is incredible.
Yes.
I know I've read from history and looking back, I mean, our downtown is so huge because we were such a big town.
We absolutely were. Our downtown, the Central Business District, is back when I was real active in that, was 33 square blocks.
Wow.
Where in McKinney it's about, was back then, maybe 6 or 9.
Man.
It's huge, which has been one of the reasons we've had so much difficulty maintaining the integrity of our infrastructure downtown.
Yes.
When cotton was gone and the railroads gave way to the interstate, and when the interstate was built, for that matter, it was a 1, 2, 3 punch to downtown.
I can see that. I loved seeing that it's trying to revitalize now, and there's some great things downtown now.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a long time.
Well, what did you do after you graduated? You said you graduated from Greenville High School. What did you do after that?
I did. Well, back then, when I graduated in 1962, that was a really long time ago. It'll soon be 60 years. You picked out your china and crystal and silverware when you graduated from high school because it was assumed you would be married pretty soon. I went to college in Commerce for 1 year. I thought I wanted to be an engineer. I'm not sure. I mean, I had a really easy time in school. I was valedictorian in my class, and I thought I could do anything. I thought I could do anything. And I thought bridges were really pretty, and I thought, I want to be a civil engineer. I want to build bridges. But that was before calculators. That was in the slide rule days. And I'd never seen a slide rule. So
wow. You would have built the most incredible bridges, though.
Right. So anyway, they put me directly into calculus and analytical geometry and engineering drawing, which I was not very good at any of those things, which was a big surprise to me. I'd always been good at everything.
Was that the first time you hit a wall with something?
Yeah, the very first.
How did you handle that?
Well, I got married. Oh, me. Actually, my husband and I started dating right at the end of my senior year, and he pursued me, and he'll be the first to tell you he begged me to get married. So we got married and started our family pretty soon, and then I got real interested in early childhood education because I was fascinated by the Montessori concept. So at the time, I was the church organist for the Episcopal Church. You probably didn't know that either,
I didn't know that, no.
And there were a number of, the Episcopalian church has a long history of having schools.
Yes.
For elementary and high schools. And I was real interested in that idea, and there were two ladies in the church who went with me, and we started St. Paul's Episcopal School. My daughter was 4 at the time, I believe, and I had a son coming up, and so we started that school, and I don't have any education about education, but one of the ladies did. So her name is, I don't know if I should mention names because I'm going to forget somebody, but anyway, she designed the curriculum along with the diocese, and so we started that. So,
was the church already established, or did you
Yes.
establish the church as well?
No, the church had been here for many years. We were in a beautiful little old brick wood church building where the Audie Murphy overpass is now,
yes.
and it burned, and then they built the one out there. But
Okay.
so then I just kind of got interested in that and got involved with. I was looking for some volunteer work, and I'm not getting this all exactly in order, but saw a little piece in the newspaper that said that there was a group of women who were planning to raise money through a bazaar, a holiday bazaar, to start the Opportunity Center in Greenville, which it's kind of its own little story, but it was to be a kindergarten for physically handicapped and mentally handicapped children. And it was going to be staffed through the University in Commerce. But we were trying to gather up enough money to convert the old hospital over on Stewart Street into classrooms. So anyway, people like Toby Axton and Gertrude Horton and people like that were involved in it. And so I just showed up one day to volunteer. And so my very first volunteer job was stuffing elf legs. Mrs. Horton had designed these cute little Christmas elves, and they had very long, very skinny legs, which were very difficult to stuff, but I excelled at that.
I bet. What did you stuff them with?
With cotton, but
Okay.
we had to use a real long, skinny stick to poke the
shove it
cotton, because the
down.
legs were like this long, and they were about that big around.
Oh my goodness.
So I met Dorothy McGoy there and Carolyn Vick, and we did that for 2 years, and I had so much fun doing that, and became so close to Dorothy and Carolyn that we started our own little shop, which became the Calico Cat after that, because people said, well, we didn't have to raise the money anymore because they got some federal grants to proceed with that project. So Dorothy and Carolyn and I made all kinds of things as part of getting ready for that bazaar, and we liked making things and doing things together. And so people said, well, will you make me one of those little gingerbread dolls, or would you make me one of those macrame pot hangers, or whatever? So we just kept making things and selling it. And we were working in a little workshop behind Dorothy's house over on Wholesome Circle, and Mayor Charles Sibley lived a couple of doors down, and he came over one day and he said, girls, you know, you're going to have to take this business someplace else. This is not zoned for business. And there are school buses and cars and trucks pulling up in front of this house. So we said, okay. So that's when we moved downtown.
Okay.
And eventually all three of us parted ways very amicably, because we wanted to have Uptown Forum as a kind of a mercantile, we called it a congregation of shops.
Yes.
So Dorothy had her own shop, Carolyn had her own shop, and I had my own shop. So that's how we ended up in 3 different shops.
Okay.
But,
I wondered about that. So what was in that building before you guys
well, it was
made
Perkins
that?
Brothers department store. My mother had worked there when I was a child in the beauty shop, so I'd grown up in Perkins Brothers. But it had been vacant for almost 10 years. The Perkins Brothers was a big chain of department stores across the South and Southeast United States. I've been told there were 90 of them. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've been told that. And it was it was very, very nice. It supported that big town you were talking about a while ago, with beautiful clothing for men and women and children, and cosmetics and fine, I don't know if it had fine jewelry, but maybe not, but shoes, housewares. It was beautiful. And then this big beauty shop where my mother worked. But it had been empty, and the building was owned by several different people, one of which was Herbert McGoy. He had an interest in it, so he bought out the other owners, and we got started with Uptown Forum.
So you started that. Did you create that name, Uptown Forum?
Dorothy did.
Okay.
She called it Uptown Shopping Forum, and I shortened it later. My husband and I bought the building from her after Herbert passed away 25 years ago, 20.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you guys moved from your house, your undercover in-house business, when you went into the Uptown Forum, did you disperse then? Is that when you dispersed? Or did you all go into it initially together?
Well, we did not go into Uptown Forum together,
Okay.
but we had a little shop over on Stonewall Street, which is now a parking lot.
Oh.
It's, let's see, behind Casa.
Okay.
Our shop had been there for a while.
Okay.
And then when we left there and went into Uptown Forum was when we separated
Then you
into
separated.
different businesses.
Okay. Now, was Carolyn's down the way a little bit where the Texan is today? Was that the same Carolyn?
No.
No, okay.
That was Carolyn Powell. I can't think of her maiden name.
Okay.
That happens when
Yes.
you lived in the same town for a long time. And no, this was Carolyn Vick. She passed
Okay.
away some number of years ago. She had a table and houseware shop upstairs.
Okay. Okay. So how old were your children when you did this, when you went into and started the Calico Cat?
Well, when we were still on Wholesome Circle, my son had just been born, and my daughter was probably 3 or
Wow.
3, 4.
When you started that, so were you primarily a stay-at-home mom then at that point? Then
Yes,
you started your
yes. I never had another job ever. Still haven't. That was the only thing I ever did, and it certainly wasn't anything I ever intended to do. I started out. It was kind of a craft shop, consignments, and then it became some housewares, and then it became gifty, and the last iteration was fashion, and certainly I have no expertise in that, but I've just learned as I've gone. I've had the great luxury of having a husband who earned a very good living, and while I was very successful, and I never had a financial downturn the entire time I was ever in business, that was the cushion that let me try different things.
Yes. Well, that made you guys the perfect team.
Yeah, it did.
He had the income coming in. Now, where did he work? What did he do?
Well, he started as an errand boy at Timco and retired as vice president of Raytheon when he was 58 years old.
Oh, wow.
He always said he was going to retire at 55, but he didn't quite make that.
58 still really
yeah,
good.
it was still really young. So he retired 20 years before I did.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness. That was so weird. For when I finally got around to retiring, he had established his kingdom in our house. So that's a story, too.
I bet that is a whole other story and the readjustment
Right.
of all of that. But how cool that he let you live your dream and do what you were passionate about and supported you.
I don't think there was ever any doubt that I was going to do what I wanted to do.
I was going to say, I think he knew in the beginning when he had to talk you into getting married that he knew what he was getting into.
Right.
That's really special. Well, I'm going to disagree with you on your fashion. I was in your shop, and you always knew that what to put with what and how to work with body types. And
Yeah,
you had a gift.
anybody can learn that, but I did have fun doing it. It's always been about the people I've been around, and I've met my very best friends working with them or volunteering with them. In every case, it's been that way. And normally one ended up being the other. I can't tell you how many different people have worked for some small period of time at Calico Cat.
Yes.
It was fun. Everybody enjoyed getting to work there, and they knew it was not high pressure, but that there was a standard of excellence that they could feel proud about.
That's exactly what I was going to say. But everyone I know that have worked for you always have that takeaway and that respect for you, because you did have a certain standard and expectation that when a customer walked into the door, they were center of attention. And there was never a moment that I didn't feel like I could get the service. And it was above and beyond. It wasn't just regular service. It was a very high level professional service in Greenville. And so I wore a piece for you today that I purchased. So my grandmother passed away, and I got a little bit of money from her. And she had a cabin in Cloudcroft, New Mexico. And she had a little half moon on the door into the bathroom. It kind of looked like an outhouse. And I wanted to do something to remember her. And I came into your store and found this obsidian ring. And it reminded me of my Nana. So when I wear it, I think of you and your store, and I think of her. So you have left, there's hundreds of women all over this town that have these pieces of jewelry that we wear, and we think of the cat, the Calico Cat. And
I can't think of a better way to be remembered. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Well, the cat's not the only thing that you did. You have done so many other things in this community, and in these conversations with Heart of Greenville, there's one organization that keeps coming up, and it's Bras for the Cause. And I have interviewed all of the boobs, the big boobs, except for you.
Except for
me.
And
the one who created this entire entity. So I want to talk to you as the founding person for Bras for the Cause and being the big boob. Tell us, how did that get started?
Well, I expect that it's not quite as amazing a story as you might think. What's amazing is what has happened since I founded it. I was on a shuttle bus in Dallas going to market once upon a time. And I mean, you just go from the hotel to the market center, so it didn't take very long. But I was just sitting there, and I heard these people behind me talking. There were two women sitting directly behind me, and then a man behind them. And they were laughing and talking and going, "Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Did you see this? Did you see that?" And the money, well, we're going to be able to do so much with that money. And it's Chamber of Commerce this. And finally I turned around and said, "Wait a minute, I got to know what y'all are talking about." Because I was, I think, president of the Chamber of Commerce then. I was within that period of time. And they said, "Well, it was the Follies." And they told me what it was about. And so, I did the whole Follies thing.
Yes.
Well, Bras for the Cause came along the same way. I started with the Follies to show you that you can there are great ideas out there to steal all the time. And I've stolen my best ideas. So, Bras for the Cause, I was at market on it probably 10, 15, 20 years later. And they had to set up a little panel discussion of events that shops were planning in their stores. And so I was one of the panelists, and I told about all my events, and one of the other panelists told about some of her events, and she said, and we tried something this year that I found online. We invited some artists to decorate bras, and then we invited people to bid on them, and we raised money for a breast cancer project. As soon as I heard decorated bras, I thought Greenville will love this. I love Greenville because we don't take ourselves too seriously. We are not afraid to have fun, especially for a good cause.
That's right.
So I thought about it. That's what I do. When I have a new idea, I visualize it from start to finish. So this will happen then, and then that will happen. Oh, back up. Let's go this direction with that. So I visualized the whole thing from start to finish, and I came back to the store and called some friends, not artists, just people that were creative and I knew would jump on at the chance to do something fun. And so I called 25 friends and said, could we please get together? I have this crazy idea. I want to run by you. And I was so gratified. One lady said later, she said, anything Janine wants to do, I'm in, because it's going to be fun and it's going to be successful. So 25 ladies showed up.
Wow.
And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to decorate bras. They all just loved it. And I said, but I want, since you're going to be the ones decorating the bras, I want you to decide how we're going to use this money, because we're not going to auction them. But because I want this to be inclusive. I want the whole community to get to participate in this. So what we're going to do is we're going to have send out invitations and put it in the paper and invite people to come and look at them and vote for their favorites. So we're going to make some money. So how do you want it? Well, immediately, June Hendricks has said, oh, it has to stay local. And I said, oh, absolutely, it has to stay local. So we contacted the hospital foundation, Hunt Regional Hospital Foundation, and asked how they might use it. And the director at the time was a gentleman who probably was quite taken aback by the whole idea. And it took us quite some time to figure out what we were going to do with that money, but we did figure it out. And so that year we had almost 50 bras, because some of them made, quite a few of them made more than two, and more than one, and all of my employees made one. So we made $3,000. We had probably a couple hundred people come down and vote $1 a vote. We sold them a little voting card for $10 so they could have 10 votes, whatever. So before the evening was over, I had people coming to me saying, I want to help next year. I want to help next year. I want to help next year. Well, I really had not even envisioned it as an annual event, but it was clear that it was going to. And one of them even said, I'll help you. I'll chair it with you. So over the years, we've had different chairs. You know who the most recent chairs are, and several of them have been doing it for quite some time, particularly Put in Dana. But it has just grown and grown and grown. But throughout the whole time, we have stayed true to the idea of it being inclusive. Mm-hmm. Anybody can enter a bra, doesn't cost anything. Anybody can come, doesn't cost anything. The money always stays local. Mm-hmm. It's going to be fun. It's going to be successful. And always part of my vision was it would be downtown, because I want fun, happy things to happen downtown.
Yes.
I want that to be the place that people think of when they're thinking about the fun things that happen in Greenville.
Yes.
So
you definitely established that.
Follies and bras.
Yes. Both of those are fun.
Yes,
so much
they
fun.
are.
Yes, both of those organizations have done so much and have given back hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years.
We reached more than $1 million total for Bras for the Cause this year. And I believe
that's incredible.
And we keep our expenses just almost to the minimum. With Bras to the minimum and below with Bras for the Cause. With Follies, there is inherent expense, and so the total raised over the years with Follies was about $750,000, I think. But we built everything helped build everything
right.
from the library to the animal control center. So just so many different places that have benefited from those things.
Oh, absolutely. And Bras has done the same thing with other projects.
Right,
they were able to fund.
Always though staying with the hospital. So we have bought helped to buy the mobile mammography unit, bought the 4D CT scanner, the UV sterilization units, the vein finders, I can't even remember all of them now. But when you need these kinds of things, rather than raise taxes or reprioritize things that are important to other people, if you can raise the money and have fun doing it, I think it's a win-win thing for the community.
It is. Well, Janine, let's talk about what you love about Greenville. You obviously have invested so much of your life and your heart and soul and passion to build these different, you're a builder, you're a founder, that's who you are. So taking all that into account, tell me, what do you love about Greenville, Texas?
Well, you know, I love a lot of things about Greenville. Most importantly, I think it's the attitude that prevails. And it's not, as I was growing up, you saw the same people year after year after year. It didn't grow. Greenville really hasn't grown that much. That in itself may be kind of a blessing, though, you know, because we have been able to maintain a close-knit community. We have not suffered from many of the urban ills. We do enjoy having fun. We don't mind doing crazy things. I think of the Ball Brigade whenever I think of crazy things, or the Arbuckle family. We'll talk about those another time. I mean, how many different places have you ever lived that people would put on a pink tutu and do the Swine Lake Ballet? You know, it's just we just have so much fun here. I love the fact, though, that we have been inclusive over the years of all the many new wonderful residents that have moved to Greenville, with L3 E-Systems being such a successful company and so many people coming from other parts of the United States, and so many of the military people who were stationed here choosing to retire here. I think that's a testament to that. I like our position in the great state of Texas. We're in East Texas. We lived for a short time down on Lake Fork for the dogwood trees and the pine trees, and now we live back in Greenville, and we have beautiful oak trees and sweet gum tree in our yard, and so I like all that too. I like being able to jump in the car and in an hour being at a lecture by an artist or an author at the Dallas Museum of Art. But then I can get in the car and be back home in my little nest in a small town, Greenville, in an hour.
Yes.
You know, I love to travel, and we're close to an airport, and it's pretty easy to go just about anywhere you want to go from right here in Greenville.
It really is. I love all those same things about this community. I asked you to pick a number before we started, and you picked a number, and then I didn't like that question. And then you picked
You're the boss.
And then you picked another number, and you kind of answered that question. So I'm going to go off my own script, and I'm going to ask you the question I want to ask you. It happens to be question number 19 on my list of 1 through 20. But I want to know, what do you, Janeen Cunningham, want to be remembered for?
I would want to be remembered for being nice to everybody. Really, I do.
You always have a smile on your face. You always are welcoming and greeting everyone. You're always so approachable, and I love your fun spirit. That is a word that keeps coming up, is fun.
Yep. I guess that is a good thing to be remembered about too. But I mean, I just want to be nice.
Just want to be nice.
Yeah.
Well, your niceness has founded so many things in our community, from the St. Paul's, the school we were talking about, to the Bras for the Cause. What were some of the other things that we talked about before we hit start that you have founded? Main
Street, Leadership Greenville, Downtown Business Association, Texas Downtown Association. I don't know.
The list just keeps going, and you're not even done. You're still going.
Well, I think I am actually kind of done. I'm loving being sort of the senior citizen that gets to go and have fun, and other people are doing all the work. There's nothing wrong with that.
But you're going to end up hearing a conversation, and you're going to have another idea.
Well, and one other thing I want to mention that I love about Greenville is how the women of Greenville have nurtured each other and involved each other. I mean, I look back at Pud's grandmother, Gertrude. And now I'm working with Pud, and she's considerably younger than me. And so I've worked with 3 generations of the Horton family. And Tubby was so nice to me and so encouraging. And now I'm working with college girls, and in the sense that I'm just being their friend and mentor and that kind of thing. So I do love that too about Greenville. There are lots and lots of things that the business women, people who own their own businesses, who work in other businesses, who have gotten together and made happen. Maybe that happens other places, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure we do it extra good here.
I agree with you. Well, from being another businesswoman, I want to thank you so much for being such a legend, an icon, someone that we can look up to, someone who's already blazed that trail for us, and you give other women that hope and that inspiration.
Well,
so
and there were those who did it for me. So you just keep doing it.
Yes, ma'am.
That's your job.
That's my new job. Well, thank you so much, Janine. It has been such a pleasure and honor to get to sit down and hear your story and hear the difference you've made in so many lives in our own community in Greenville, Texas.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. It was much easier than I thought. I think I'm going to live through this now.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching Heart of Greenville. This video series, which is designed to celebrate Greenville, Texas, is spearheaded by REMAX 3D Real Estate.